Today we are talking about the Royal Commission of AlUla. AlUla is one of the cities in Saudi Arabia which offers historical wonders and captivating sights. It is one of those places in the Middle East where you not only get to treat your eyes but also to get involved in some outdoor activities. Today we have Melanie de Souza with us, Executive Director for Destination Marketing. Let's talk to her and know more about AlUla.
It's great to be here in Mumbai for the launch of Forever Revitalising, our first ever brand campaign that really seeks to position AlUla in this important market, priority market. AlUla, as you rightly said, is a destination in the northwest of Saudi, and it is associated with heritage of global significance. What the world perhaps thinks of as synonymous with AlUla is Hegra, which is the amazing Nabatean legacy, 110 beautifully preserved tombs. But as important are sites like Dadan, which relate to the ancient North Arabian kingdoms of Saudi, and which go back to the 9th century BCE at the very earliest, yes. Sites like Jabal Ikmah, which have the most magnificent rock art and carvings, and the most ancient forms of language, including Aramaic, Dadanitic, Latin, Greek, but Old Town as well, the baby of our heritage sites, 900 years continuously occupied till as recently as 40 years ago, and part of which has now been restored to incorporate retail and dining, and very soon a new hotel.
Oh, wow.
So there's heritage in spades, then there are these stunning natural landscapes. You know, for centuries, AlUla was the stopping point on the caravan routes. And even the traders from India who came to trade their spices stopped there because it was always seen as abundant with water and resources, because it had this 9 kilometers of beautiful green oasis that ran like a central spine through the destination. And so for us, there is heritage, there is stunning landscapes that are the backdrop for adventure and wellness experiences. You can have hikes and trails, but also for that adrenaline junkie, you have everything from zip lines to giant swings and giant stairways to heaven and everything in between. And we have a pretty robust and ambitious vision for many sectors in the space of sport, in the space of the arts and creative industries. So altogether, a very well thought through and considered approach to destination development and placemaking.
That too taking care of sustainability, right?
Sustainability is the core of our charter. It is really the main premise underpinning those two words, Forever Revitalising. For us, it is a rally cry to staff. We remind ourselves that first and foremost, we are custodians of amazing heritage. And so for us, it's about how do we safeguard this for generations to come? How do we build on and embellish this legacy? But also we are very much about the local community, the 46,000 people that call AlUla home. How can they be the beneficiaries of our tourism endeavor? How can we upskill them, create pathways for economic prosperity for them? And the work that's being done to regenerate vast tracts of land in the nature space to ensure the ecological balance is restored, and that one day we can perhaps in the next 8 or 10 years host the Arabian leopard, which is now a threatened species, back in its natural habitat. You know, I think of the arts and creative sector where we're doing so much good work to revive the ancient arts and handicrafts of yesteryear, and it's all very much premised on this whole concept of sustainability and of making sure that whatever we do is right, whether it's respect for the natural environment, whether it's the codes of for building as far as the built infrastructure is concerned. And for me, I think Journey Through Time, which is the name of our master plans, is really very much about sustainability, about ensuring that we are curating authentic, transformative experiences for the visitors. So those two words are also as much a promise to the visitor that when you come there, that's what you're going to feel, and it's going to be restorative for body, mind and soul.
That's why one should.
Exactly.
Being the Executive Director of Destination Marketing for AlUla, how do you plan to promote AlUla globally?
So this is a first very big step for us with a paid media campaign globally. We're targeting 9 countries and 6 languages.
Awesome.
We've done a lot of work to identify the audience segments that we're after. And for us, this is about working very closely with our trade and media partners globally. When I think of the last few years, including that period of COVID, we really used it to effectively ensure that we have strong relationships in place, that we have a travel distribution system where we have clearly identified partners who can help us convert that
Yes.
customer and who are trained to be able to efficiently talk about the destination with confidence and drive that sale. But also with the media and with so many credible people in various fields, whether it's archaeology or the arts or conservationists, we've had such serious positive third-party endorsement for our plans and for the destination as a whole, and that has already seen us getting so much traction across social media and through our digital platforms. And the anecdotal feedback from people who visited is so positive, it's very heartwarming and encouraging.
Okay, that's great. Talking about the digital presence, are you promoting AlUla digitally?
You know, if I think about AlUla, it's picture postcard.
Yeah.
If you went with your camera to AlUla, you would honestly be so, you would run, in the old days you would run out of reel. You know, these days everything's digital, but there is such a plethora of Instagrammable moments, of photographs that capture the beauty daytime and nighttime of this destination. You know, we talk about a destination with 980 million years of geology in the making, and what that has left us is just these stunning outdoor spaces, canyons that are magnificent, and built infrastructure like Marriott, which is our multi-purpose conference and entertainment venue, which is the largest mirrored building in the world. You know, the Italian artists who were commissioned to create this, this piece of infrastructure said to us, you know, we can't compete with the surroundings, so let's create a building that reflects the surroundings in its exterior, and that's what they did. And that is perhaps one of the most Instagrammable, iconic buildings of our destination. So we've had fantastic coverage from important and credible people with serious followings in social. And we always say we can project our own view of a destination, but there's nothing like third-party, credible endorsement from people in the know and who have the followings.
And the one who has experienced it, and when they go and tell ki, okay, we have visited this place and this is how it is.
Exactly.
It's completely different. It hits different, yeah.
Agree completely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So since you're already promoting AlUla, how do you make sure that it is on the mind of people when they are thinking of, you know, planning to move or planning to visit some destination like AlUla? How do you make sure that it is on the top of their minds?
Well, I think this is where our travel intermediary partners come in. You know, these days you have customers who are very well informed. They've done their research, they've shortlisted destinations, and they very often are either independently making their own arrangements, or in the case of destinations that they are perhaps a little less comfortable with, they do rely heavily on that trusted intermediary. And for us, it's how do we work with them to make sure that when it comes to the passion points of their customer, where AlUla sits appropriately against those passion points, we're positioned up the top. As a new destination as well, there is this appeal of a place that's only a few hours flying time from India. We have this prolific calendar of events as well, which is an excuse for a long getaway or a weekend, extended weekend. We have some amazing concerts at Marriott, amazing festivals, some of which are in the outdoors, like the Azimuth Music Festival for a younger audience. It's all about the EDM genre in the case of Azimuth, but also festivals that just highlight our core brand pillars. So festivals that celebrate heritage, arts, the skies, wellness. And you know, talking about the skies, you can go ballooning over Hegra.
Wow.
Now Hegra was Saudi Arabia's first UNESCO classified heritage site, but also the stargazing at night and the interpretation through guides who will tell you about how the Bedouins used those stars to navigate and how they kind of juxtapose the various formations to help them determine north from south and east from west. fascinating tales and just stunning environments in which to take in what is such deep history of global significance.
Okay, that's beautiful. Talking about the outdoor activities, what other outdoor activities are there in AlUla?
So, you know, I think depending on your appetite for adrenaline rushes, if you want to just be slow paced, you can have walks and trails. We have companies like Husak Adventures that do the most fabulous trails, and they interpret the landscape for you. They tell you the story of AlUla, and it's fascinating. And they take you into the nature reserves. Over
Sounds
50%,
dreamy.
yeah, over 50% of AlUla is nature reserves, classified. And then for those who really want to go gung-ho and challenge themselves, we have two events like Tough Mudder and Desert Blaze in the middle of the peak of summer, where you really get to, you know, test your limits and your powers of endurance. But then you also have, as I mentioned before, adventure activities out of this hub. There is everything from cycling to the giant swing, to zip lines, to a giant stairway. So, you know, lots to do in the adventure and outdoor space.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have noticed the recent trend in the Bollywood of exploring new cities. How can AlUla and Bollywood collaborate to get something out of it?
You know, we have a very active film commission who's excited at the prospect of Bollywood. We've got a lot of investment going in as well into studios in AlUla for film shoots. And they're very much keen to talk to producers and directors and to position AlUla. And you know, you don't have to be a genius to know that AlUla's stunning landscapes are the perfect backdrop. You know, when I think of the vistas that are taken in for the usual Bollywood kind of sequences, whether it's dancing or just, you know, backdrops, we are perfectly suited for that. So I think there's a lot of hope and expectation in that regard. We recently had Kandahar with Jared Butler shot in AlUla, and then Ali Faisal, who is of course, you know, gaining a reputation in Hollywood and Bollywood. We've used him when he came and starred in one of the films to actually talk about his experience in AlUla, and it's received very good reach and coverage.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And then we invited Janhvi Kapoor, who I know is got quite a strong following.
Yes.
And she came and I think was blown away by AlUla and, you know, kind of through her social followings, really talked up the breadth and depth of what she experienced in the destination.
I'm influenced to visit AlUla.
We'd love to have you there.
Thank you. Okay,
Pleasure.
talking about this Bollywood and AlUla's collaboration, as we said, how is it going to promote AlUla on the global platform? Any plans on that?
As far as Bollywood is concerned?
Yes.
What do you mean by the global platform? I'm sorry, I don't
Globally, I
understand.
mean, so as the AlUla is collaborating with Bollywood, we are
Yeah.
creating movies and shooting things over there.
We're doing a
How
lot
is
with
it going
Hollywood
to-
and potentially with Bollywood, yeah.
Yes. So how is it going to promote AlUla to the global audience?
Well, I just think films are a very powerful medium. You know,
Yes.
I've seen such successful case studies of films shot in destinations that then lead people who've watched those films to go in and either retrace the steps of the actors and actresses or experience something that they would have seen, you know, that was highlighted and profiled as part of that film. So I think film is a serious influencer of destination choice. But I don't think it's the only one. And certainly for us, this is about how do we reach our audiences wherever they are, across digital, it's about, you know, wherever they're looking, hearing, reading, seeing, how can we position AlUla in a way that's appropriate and that touches them both. It's ultimately about winning hearts and minds,
Yes.
isn't it? And that's the game we're in.
Yes. Are you also calling the travel influencers to capture AlUla?
You know, we've had a share of influencers hosted in AlUla, but for us, our policy is very much about how do we certainly showcase the best of our destination to people who have a credible audience. But I'm not in the business of cash for comment, if that's your question. We
Okay.
certainly do not say to influencer X, we pay you Y for the privilege of you to come.
Yes.
That's not what we're.
So no paid content.
There's no paid content.
Okay.
We're very much about certainly showcasing and hosting to, deliver the best of what is our offering.
Yes.
But we're not about cash for comment.
That's one beautiful thing.
And we don't think the destination needs it. It speaks for itself, and the kind of extra column centimeters and accolades we've had. I mean, a very trusted media like Condé Nast called us out as one of the 7 new wonders of the world. So we're very encouraged by that. And for us, it's about very targeted approaches to communication where those audience segments we're after are going to see, hear, or read about it.
And that's more authentic as well when the destination is speaking for itself.
I think that's right.
So talking about the hotels and food of AlUla, how do you describe that?
So, it's very interesting. As part of our sustainability charter, we've capped our maximum tourists to 2 million by 2035. It's all about the quality of experience. And at the moment, we're growing our visitor base in line with hotels and in line with our airport capacity. We've just launched new airport plans that will see our throughput of annual traffic that the airport will have the capacity to deliver going up to 6 million. So from 400,000, which it is currently. So it's all about a phased approach to progressing numbers, very much in line with our charter. At the moment, we have 2 spectacular hotels at the really top end of the market, the Banyan Tree and Habitas, both of which are getting really good feedback from the Indian market. Both of them are in this stunning real estate of Ashar Valley, and some with private pools, both very similar in that they're both low-rise. One is a tented camp, the other is prefabricated. And while Banyan Tree is about romance and seclusion, the Habitat's philosophy is all about like-minded people coming together who share common interests. And then we have more moderate-priced hotels like Chardin, also in a beautiful location, Sahari at a lower price point, Dar Tentora, which I referenced, coming into the old town. And we're really excited to see Chedi, which is the Singapore brand, launching later in the year in Hegra, the first time we have a hotel in a heritage classified site. And then a vote of confidence from the major hotel chains for Aman resorts planned for later, and Azulik, this wonderful architect, Jean Nouvel, who's won the Pritzker Prize, building this stunning resort in Shiran Nature Reserve. And next year, the Hyatt and Marriott hotels should be near completion. They're more business center of AlUla, city-based type hotels, but they will really add to our room stock. So we're growing rooms, and I'm excited about that because that will allow us to cater for a more diverse audience and more for the MICE market, which I think India could do very well with. Small incentive groups, conferences, board meetings.
Right. And food. I'm very curious about the food.
It's wonderful that we have such a diversity of offering. We have this concept coined of oasis to table. So we've done a lot with the agriculture sector per se. We're very prolific with citrus, 29 varieties of citrus. We export 90,000 tons of dates, the Barney dates. But in the oasis, it's not just palm trees and citrus. There's also so much, again, with sustainability practices at the core, going into helping farmers in terms of growing and broadening the diversity of crops and vegetables and plants that they're growing. So you'll see that a lot of the emphasis is on how can we source local, and whether it's the Michelin star restaurants like Alain Ducasse, which is a pop-up in the Oasis, or Atherton's restaurant on top of Mariah, which is Mariah Social, another Michelin star. You have this diversity of offering. Some of these restaurants are in spectacular settings. We've had pop-ups like Ona in the middle of Hegra and in stunning, kind of rock canyons. And then you have, the more affordable options in Old Town, right through to the food trucks in Al Jadida. So a real diversity of offering. And I think for the Indian palate, lots to keep them happy.
Glad. I'm so glad to hear about AlUla, and yeah, I hope that this will influence people to visit AlUla.
And I
because
hope
since
you
we
have a
talked-
chance to come too one day.
Yes, I'm very much influenced, and I so want to go to AlUla now.
Great, it's what we want to hear.
So thank you so much.
Thank
for
you. Lovely
having-
to meet
yeah,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so much.
Sandy.